What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy. And I know you are probably like, why is he doing this intro? This is not the intro of the Just Checking In podcast. I know, I get it. But as y'all probably have seen in a video that will be released prior to the release of this episode, we have a new co-host for the Just Checking In podcast. And before we go any further, I want my very, very good young friend to introduce himself and just let the people who don't know who he is, and then of course just remind the people that do know who he is. So my young sir, please go ahead and let the people know who
Oh, the emphasis on age is just something to be unpacked. What's up, y'all? My name is Donald D. Gilliam, aka Uncle Don Don, aka everybody's uncle. It's underscore Uncle Don Don on Twitter. But yeah, no, I'm here to join Qualls, aka Paul, what I call him, for the Just Checking In podcast and see where this conversation goes.
Yes, absolutely. So, I explained the transition more in depth in a previous video, so we won't take up too much time doing that, but we will hop right into how this bro, I don't know if I'm on his right or left, but I know on my screen, this brother to the left of me came to become one of my mentors, closest friends, brothers, and all of that. And I want to say that it started in 2017. I think
Yeah,
that
that's what I was gonna come up with.
I want to. I mean, I
That
feel
math sound about right.
I feel like I feel like I knew about you prior to, of course, but I don't think we actually started to really develop any type of friendship until about 2017. But what was your very, very first impression of me when you actually had an idea of who I was and knew me past just my name?
Well, first of all, it's always scary when somebody says, "Well, I think I knew of you before," because it's like, wait, what you know? I don't know what those first impressions are, but yeah, I don't know. That's taking me back. You know, my young brain has to process that. But no, I don't know. One of my earliest memories of you was the damn box cut you had. So I was like, who is this kid with this little joint on the top of his head? But I don't know. You always reminded me like some young old soul in the stuck in the early '90s aesthetic and mentality. So I was like, who is this kid? And
Yeah.
then the rest follows.
Yeah, I still don't forgive. I don't forgive everybody for allowing me to have that high top fade as long as I did. Because I had it for a really long time. And it was just like
You did. I
it,
even have a video. It's a video with my phone. I need to look forward to sending it to you. But you standing at the front desk at the BCC, and you got the joint on the top of your head, but then you had a cream sweater, maybe some like green pants, and the Chelsea boots because you was a brunch boot campus dude.
I
Like
was.
that's what it was. So if I didn't know you by the box on your head, I knew you by the Chelsea boots on your feet. And I'm like, that's Qualls.
I think yeah, I definitely ran with the secondary alpha attire of Chelsea boots and,
Oh yeah, they
and
need to
khakis.
put that in the appendix of what's allowed because y'all was wearing them down.
Oh, absolutely. The fact that they became brunch boots was insane, but they were a great mix. Chelsea boots are a great in between not needing to wear sneakers, but not
I,
wanting to
I
wear dress shoes.
yeah, I got my Alpha Edition Chelsea boots over there behind me. Actually, say that right now.
Look, I need to re-up. Honestly, I the ones I had, they definitely were showing their age, so I need to go get some new ones. But
Funny for you to talk about showing age, but that's neither here
okay,
nor there. Continue,
let's. So
continue.
no. We're going to address this right now, just so y'all can understand the context of this. So, in having Donald join the show, so for y'all that
Uh-huh.
do not know, Donald is a few years older than me. If he wants to disclose his age, I'll allow him to do that. But
First of all, we are peers. I almost called you out your name. We are peers. Okay.
we
I
we're
just ha- I
peers.
just happen I just happen to be closer to 34 than you are.
You just a bit more seasoned. That's all.
Yeah, seasoned. I'm not experienced. I'm all of that. I ain't old until you ask me to go up some stairs and my knees hurt.
Well, that's also very fair. But I had made the statement initially that I felt like with Donald joining, there was a demographic that I would be able to reach that we weren't able to reach previously, and he took that and ran with it, and apparently said I called him old, and I just don't see how the two correlate. I don't see how we got
Because
there.
that is not, don't even fix your lips to lie before God. That is not how you presented that.
What did I say?
I was carrying dog food back to the car on the phone with you, and you were like, "Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to joining the podcast. I think it's gonna be good. It's conversations we already have. We just have a camera there. And besides, I think it'd be good for me to appeal to an older crowd. I'm not no lounge lizard. This ain't 50 plus. Like I was like, oh, okay, that's what it is.
Lounge
Wow.
lizard is crazy.
And they are real.
They are real. They
Everybody knows at least one, and where there's one, there's three.
Very valid, very valid. But as I said, as y'all will get to know, like I get a lot from Donald. You'll see as you see us more and more. I get a lot from him. So I would think that it's praise that's being accepted, that I speak in this way of speaking to wanting to appeal to the crowd that he's in. Because right now I'm just the young buck. Like I have some of the potential to be respected by the seasoned folk, but sometimes getting that stamped from a stamped seasoned person, just expedites that process. That's all I was saying in so many words. It was a Friday. My articulation
It
wasn't.
was in so many words, right? That it wasn't enough to not have offended me, but that is okay because I am here, youthful and looking great. Let's go.
No, no, you didn't. No, you do look good. I'm trying to. You know what's crazy? I've seen your hair journey through our friendship, and I
Man,
think that is extremely. That's really interesting. Now that I think about it, that helps kind of put timestamps on things for sure.
yeah, you knew me when I was bald head skittle little. Like I was nothing. Hell, you knew me when my hair was falling out.
Yeah, well,
I went through some stages.
facts. But when do you feel like our friendship or our brotherhood even when do you feel like it took the first step toward this is not just a brother that I'm cool with through being in the same fraternity, not somebody that I'm cool with through proximity, but somebody who I feel like I should invest time in maintaining this friendship and this relationship. And what was that moment in
um,
time for you?
I think the moment that allowed it to happen was it was a moment in your journey to alpha, and I told you like you were a leader, and like yeah, I could see your leadership capabilities and things like that, and I was just like, don't lose that in the chaos of the world. And I saw you receive it, and like a light bulb go off. So I was like, okay, there's clearly a something there. Like, okay, his ears work. Like he can understand what I'm saying. But I just said that in passing. I didn't say that with any intention on like this happening. Um, but then I say this with love. You never left. You just always around. I was like, damn. But in a good way. Like you just kind of always wanted to be around. You always had like good little brother energy.
I did. I
Um,
pretty much did.
so in my seasoned stubbornness, right, where I would just be like, damn, move. I was just like, okay, this dude is always around and just was always popping up, and you could hold a conversation. So I think all of those things just kind of fell into place. But I would probably say if I had not initially made that comment to you, I don't think that would have started this, like our friendship, brotherhood, and relationship. So yeah.
Yeah, did you graduate in 17 with your master's?
Hmm. I did.
So I think for me, and I'll circle back to the little brother point because that is very on brand and
Uh,
very on point. But I remember 17, that was our first, well, of course, obviously that was my first semester in Alpha and in the chapter. And
mhm.
I think one of the first lessons we learned, because I mean, graduation comes, relatively soon, after we become part of the chapter. So the importance of showing up to bruh's graduations and being
Yeah,
there
yeah.
was stress to us. And I believe you were probably one of the first graduations I went to, or tried to get to at least, as an alpha. And I think that mixed with the NBMI stuff and mixed with, I don't know, I think what it was for you, well, what it was for me in regards to you was, I think that you just kind of had this, it was this mystique in a way, but it wasn't like a you hiding something. It's just I could tell that you were very much, to me it was wisdom, because especially at the time as an undergrad student, I was looking at it like he has so much to give, but I can tell that he doesn't like just offer this advice or this wisdom to anybody. So it's like you, in a way, you kind of gotta earn that space for him to care enough to be like, hey, you should, these are some things you should consider, or things that you should maybe look into. Like you had to, I had to build or develop that trust from you. Um, and
That's real.
I think I kind of took that as a, not a challenge, but just more so I felt like with what you were doing, um, I just felt like it would make sense for me to try to be aligned with or follow somebody that was having such a positive impact. I didn't know I would end up going into like student facing roles, and I didn't know that some of my desires in terms of working with uh students or just working with like people at that age, I didn't know those
Hmm.
desires would come to be, but I think that's what kind of drew me to you initially. The little brother part, me not leaving, yeah, that never happened. But no, but so I've, but I feel like that part, I wonder what that was like for you, because I know the NBMI aspect was one part of it, but then it was, but then so I graduated, and through graduation, I think just through like work with the chapter and just, of course, the same proximity, I don't think that's when the leap happened. But of course, I was still around from a campus standpoint. But I feel like post grad was when I really kind of like, I maybe latched on is too strong of a word, but I feel like that's when I made more of a point to develop the relationships with y'all, because I knew I kind of had that dilemma of like not wanting to be too closely attached to undergrad and campus in that regard, like, but still being
Hmm.
on campus as a grad student. So I know for
For
me that's
sure.
kind of like, yeah, let me stay around. Let me stay around these seasoned folk, so I can get out of my youth a little bit quicker.
Watch it. Too much season to kick your ass. Watch out. Get you right. Some
Right.
heavy-handed folks in the kitchen. Calm down.
Lord have mercy. But but yeah, what do you remember about that time frame for me or us, like that? Well, that had to be like 2018, basically to COVID. Like my graduation basically into
Yeah.
into COVID, essentially. I still feel like that was a good time for us. Though. I feel like we grew a lot in that time period.
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, it's a few different like pieces in that, and like um, you graduated. Well, before that, like you were AD. You graduated. You
Yeah.
were looking into grad school. You wanted to stay connected to NBMI. The pandemic happened. Like we some pandemic brothers for real. Like once we realized that we could quarantine alone and we had our small little community, it was like we all live by ourselves. We're not interacting with nobody, so we can interact with each other. And yeah, we had that. But no, I don't know. I just feel like it was a lot of times that just happened to connect on a lot of things. Like I said, conversation, more importantly, but like you had a appetite for relationship with older bros. Um, and not even in age, which I guess is the same thing, but in alpha, like those that are ahead of me, the Marshall Greens of the world, eighth world wonder, to the like Thurstons, So it's just you always wanted to be around that, so you was always like present in a way. And I don't know, I just think those things, and you also know how to laugh and joke, so you don't take my sarcasm and things to heart. You just
Yeah.
laugh and keep it pushing. So yeah.
Do you feel like that is either something that you feel is rare in general, just in your experience, or if you feel like more specific to alpha is rare for neos to kind of do that? Was that appetite or was that desire for a relationship with the bros that came before me? Because I know that was very intentional for me. Like I
Hmm.
never wanted to stop learning, so let alone learning in alpha, but there was a respect for a lot of the bros that came before me, and I felt like there was a lot I could just learn in life from them. And
Hmm.
that's, I mean, I can only speak for my, my chapter, but that's how we, especially in Colombia, were raised to experience
For
the brotherhood.
sure.
So I just tried to take full advantage of that. But was that a rarity, and did that make it stand out, or was it more so just the appreciation of somebody kind of wanting to embody that from your perspective?
I mean, both and for real. If I'm gonna keep it a buck, but I would say it's probably more of a rarity, and I don't even want to call it that word, but I mean, everybody goes through a neo phase, and it's like you bonded with these dudes, you want to be an alpha, you want to do all these things, and it's like the glitz and glams of like now we here. But then people forget like alpha is a business, like we legitimately are an organization, an international organization, and sometimes you have to operate as such. So we were raised in Colombia to talk about this as a family business. So you understood both sides immediately in a way that a lot of people don't. Or even if they do, they still get caught up in like the parties and the strolling and all the other like fun aspects of it, not so much the business aspect. But I mean, Neos are going to be pro fights, and pro fights are going to lead chapters. And you was just like, I think this is the role I'm supposed to occupy. I don't need to be front and center at every party. No shade to some of my bros, but like you also know how to conduct yourself outside of that. And part of that was building relationships. So you just like, man, I want to be a sponge and be around. So it's just like, absolutely, we're not going to push away younger dudes. So
Yeah, it definitely felt good to be received in that way by older bros. And
yeah,
I
because you were damn near the youngest of the old bros. And I say old in quotations because we were young, still are, first of all, but
yeah, no,
young at the
thanks.
time. But I mean, y'all was kids. Like, I didn't realize when I met you, you was 17. I probably should have known by the box cut and Chelsea boots, but like, that was young.
I mean,
You know?
I definitely still looked 17 for sure. What was it like when you moved outside of obviously like the positive of you're getting out of Columbia, but moving away from the friendship that we had and the friendships that were around us that were so intimate and closely connected? What did it feel like leaving the proximity of that? Because obviously like the friendship stayed the same, but what was it like leaving the proximity of that, not having me being less than 5 minutes away anymore, or not having that sense of not having that aspect of the friendship, I guess.
I mean, you talk about flipping the world upside down. Like, not to be dramatic, but it was like getting in the car, driving out of Columbia was like stepping in Narnia and be like, where the hell am I? Like, it was completely different than anything I had anticipated because, I mean, I walked away from my life, that I had quite honestly established there. So you said, what does it feel like? Gutted. Like, imagine being gutted like a fish. Like, that was what it was. And I mean, full transparency, I cried my eyes out, like driving. And
Mm.
I saw Boyd last, obviously, because I was staying with him at the time. But we had this like dramatic color purple moment of separation, and I was just like, "Damn, I'm really like leaving my guys. Like this is going to be weird." And to try to press restart because up until that point, I mean, I had quality friendships and still do, but just being in the nature of Colombia for so long that everything is cyclical. And I was the one that was staying. So I was expecting other people to leave. And
Mm.
it never occurred to me what happens when I left. Because some of y'all would visit, some of y'all wouldn't. It just be what it was. But then I'm like, damn, I'm gone. There is no coming back. So I'm like, y'all, I can't walk to your house no more. I can't call you and you can complain about how much Starbucks is on the way to your house and see if you want something. Like that's just
Yeah.
a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I mean, we talk about it all the time, but I feel that now, and I knew I felt it when you left. Like I knew that for me, for a year and a half, I was at my house 60% of the time, and I was at Donald's house 40% of the time. So, my spades partner was gone. The person I just
Man,
the person I could just drive 5 minutes to just to vent or just to kick it or just to get out of my house is gone. And so while there was beauty in it because my individual relationship with Boyd developed more, like my relationship
yeah,
with
yeah,
Arlo developed more. So like there was a beauty in it, but I think you just being like back to the context of being seasoned, like yes, we're all peers and we're all young, but you are the OG of our group, even the bros that were in Columbia, you were the
yeah,
you were the OG of that group. So when the OG leaves, it's like it's a big fucking deal, when the OG leaves. So I know that there was an adjustment period because it just felt like there was also a pressure too for me. Not that, of course, not that you realized it, but there was this idea that okay, if it was time for Donald to go, and Donald then became the mainstay he has for black students, the black community on campus in Columbia, all
mm.
of that. For me, should I be next? You know what I'm saying? Should I be trying to
Never
get up
thought
out
about
here as
that.
soon as possible? And it wasn't, and it was more so the idea of like I knew it was something that you would want for me, but I also didn't want to feel like I was just making decisions because other people had made decisions that were best for them. Like if it had
Hmm.
made more sense for you to stay for whatever reason, it, I mean, who knows? You might have stayed if it made the most sense. So it's just like I didn't want to do that, but I did have those feelings like, man, like I don't. It ain't so much that he leaving me, but I feel like I'm not supposed to stay. And I kind of dealt with that for some time. But yeah, I think it helped when we were able to. Obviously, Chicago isn't a terrible drive, so visiting was never extremely difficult and a bit more feasible than other places. And
Hmm.
that was cool, but yeah, no, you leaving was as much as it gutted you, and I completely understand that. It definitely gutted me because it felt like I said, it wasn't a loss, but it was more. It's just different when you can't pull up, on somebody when you can't meet somebody here for this. You know what I'm saying? Like y'all putting me on the McNally's and us not being able to do that anymore. Just like
Oh,
the
turn
small
up for
stuff,
McNally. Yeah,
just the small stuff like that is kind of where it's like, dang. But it also makes you just more appreciative of that time. Because that time frame and that era is something that you can't get back. So you just remember the good parts of it.
yeah. Because I mean, I even told you, you reminded me a lot of my friends, my best friends that I grew up with. I'm still friends with to this day. Like I even called you like my one of my best friends is Lawrence. I was like, you like little Lawrence in a way. So Lawrence is like my little brother. It would be you. I mean, we clearly the same age, but like, yeah. So it was just like, all right, I'm leaving home. I recreated home in Columbia, which um 10 out of 10 would not advise. But then it was like, okay, now I got to recreate this, and I'm like, my Mizzou crew that was just like my best friends growing up also now is shifting. So yeah, it took some time. From as the older brother, somebody who knows you or whatever, I'm just like, oh, he's getting closer to 30, and like this is making sense. You were like knowing and owning you more, whereas like you used to be asking for too many second opinions, or like I don't even want to say timid, but like timid in making a decision because it was always a what if or somebody else's and blah 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 blah. So now you just like there's a certain the like centeredness that comes for most people when they are approaching 30, turn 30, and like I can feel that coming from you because 20 25 you're like, okay, I'm grown, but like what the hell am I supposed to be doing for real? Like you got a couple of bills and don't really know what's going on. But 27 is like when you be like, ooh, okay, I'm about to be adult. 28, that sexy age where you just try to figure out adulthood and like enjoy it. But now that you're getting here, like you just kind of calm it down. And it's good to watch from afar because I'm not gonna force nobody to learn. I'm not gonna force nobody to grow. I would hope nobody does that for me because we got to do it in our own times and phases and stuff. But I can see now you switching paths and being on like a coasting to adulthood as opposed to this like rabbit squirrel, like what's going on?
That's a good analogy for sure. The rabbit squirrel is is a great analogy.
Yeah, your 20s are just all like, ooh, piece of candy. Like I'm
Yeah.
not you don't do that as much. So now you can kind of be like, actually, I want that piece of candy.
Yeah, no, that's very real. Um, yeah, I think I've always had this balance of kind of like you said, like getting past the point where it feels like I'm just doing things for the approval of other people, but also
Hmm.
making the people that I care about proud. And
Yeah.
I've never wanted to feel like anything that you've imparted on me has been a waste. So there's always been an aspect of where I guess you could consider it like a voice in the back of my head, but it's always been this thing of maybe not so much like letting you down, but it's just like I've been taught better, I know better, and people expect better of me or more of me for a reason. And it's not that they
Hmm.
expect too much. They're just holding me to a standard that allows me to be at my full potential. And I feel like anybody that is willing to do that, not that necessarily comes at a cost, but because it can cause friction or it can cause butting heads sometimes. I think anybody that's willing to do that and still stand on, well, no, I'm looking out for you and I care about you. So I'm gonna give you this advice or make this statement that may not feel great to you initially, but
Hmm.
I mean, unless you're telling me I'm lying, just sit with that and know that it's coming from a place of love. So I think within that, even hearing that is like, okay, and just knowing that like I have made some of those steps and I can see and I've observed within myself what you're observing. It's like, okay, it it's one thing not to like need it, but the affirmation of knowing that some of the things I am doing for myself is still resonating
Yeah.
with what I care about. That's always a good feeling. So yeah, that's that's cool. I'm happy about that. Um,
Shout out to you.
well, thank you, and shout out to you as well, the seasoned veteran of it all. Sorry,
Oh, if I could hit you through this screen.
I know. If we were together, I definitely would have caught a quick backhand by now to the chest for
Yeah,
sure.
apparently I'm heavy handed because a lot of y'all be flinching around me and I don't get it. But
You are heavy-handed and you're a menace. Like, so yes, people try to be on guard
so
around you.
harsh. I'm not a menace. I'm
In a sense that and on that note, I hope you all have gotten the introduction into how me and Donald talk, how we operate. Clearly, we cannot go any conversation without taking a couple shot at each other. It's foundational at this point. But of course, everything is
pretty
with
much.
love, everything is with care and things of that nature. And y'all will get to learn a lot more about our friendship and us as individuals as we discuss more things, get into more topics, and just talk about more as we bring out more episodes. So any parting words for your debut appearance? And actually, you know what? I want to give you parting words because I know what you're gonna say. I know exactly what you're gonna say. You, no, go ahead. Give your parting words. Give your parting words.
I have no parting words. Um, thank you for hiring me back since I was on a forced sabbatical so many years ago where y'all he fired me. I was his like production assistant or whatever hell title he wants to get, helping through the pandemic, right? Because you want to talk about good memories. I was his lighting, his tech, his sound, all of that stuff. Then one day he was just like, I don't need you no more. Like, don't ever come back. And it was months, and he was like, "Oh, I guess you're just gonna be on sabbatical." That's what we calling it, because clearly that was the word of the fraternity at the time. And yeah, so imagine imagine my surprise when he said, "Hey, you wanna do just checking in?" What? You wanna bring me back?
First off,
If you know, you know. It's fine. We're all healed and we're all here.
yeah. On that note, we go wrap up this episode, and we will catch
Seven
y'all next
blessings.
time. We'll catch y'all next time on the next episode of the Just Checking In podcast.